What's up, bandits? Welcome to my channel and to this video. Let me explain what we're doing today. We've got some sneaky DIY. I'm no plumber, but we're gonna get this toilet fixed up. I've got a problem with the fill valve not shutting off and the water just continuing to run, and I've troubleshooted it as much as I can. The toilet parts themselves are approaching 10 years of age, so we're just gonna go ahead and replace all of the internal parts back here. I've got a universal fit. I've done all the math, and it just makes sense to replace the fill valve and the drain valve and everything else. I mean, I could spend the same thing and just do the fill valve, but we're just gonna replace everything. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, we're gonna get this opened up here in a second. For tools, we're gonna need some pliers, possibly a screwdriver, and some towels or sponges. We've got all the parts here. I'll give you some of these as well, the nuts and the bolts. That looks like our fill valve. Ooh, they even give us a new handle. Are you kidding? Look at that. Good old instructions. And this must be maybe a water saving device here. Give you a closer look here at what we're going to be replacing. Get rid of this fill valve. This is the float and the drain valve or the flush valve and the handle. So I think we're going to turn off the water. I wish that was a quarter turn valve, but it's not. Okay, and then we're gonna flush the toilet. And that'll basically won't fill back up, it'll just drain. Just hold that down if the water doesn't go all the way. There we go. And you can see the water level now is extremely low. Water is off, so it won't refill. Next, we're going to take a towel, or if you've got a sponge, that would maybe be ideal. Just soak up the water and drain it out, because you want all that water down there out of there for the most part. Okay, so we'll drain that out. And if you want to, you can untwist the float like this for easier access. See that? The float. Basically, the water level didn't shut off because there's a problem with this. I had tried adjusting it several times, and basically when it gets to a certain point, when the water level gets to a certain point, the float goes like this, triggers this mechanism, and the water will stop filling up. By the way, use an old rag, not a new one, because that rubber, all those seals have been sitting in water for years, and it does come off on the rag. All right, next they do recommend replacing this connector after 5 years, or if you're not sure how old it is, to prevent water leaks and property damage. But we're gonna undo this right here. Let me grab a towel because there will be water, I'm sure. Maybe a bucket would be better. We'll see. Get to watch this video and learn from my mistakes. Oh, just a little bit there, so a towel should be just fine. Okay, next we'll take our adjustable tool, because there is a lock nut right there. And we'll twist it. There we go. And that lock nut holds the valve into place. that should just come up. Next, we're gonna remove this thing, the lever. Sounds a lot worse than it is, that metal bang on the porcelain, but there we go. Reverse threads. Slide off the lock nut there and push the lever. And it's attached to the... There we go. That looks good, and we'll slide that out. That's what it looks like, and we can recycle that. Next, we're going to disconnect the tank from the bowl. And there are, in this particular case, there's 3 plastic nuts. And I had to loosen them, just this one, with pliers, just a little bit. And then they all just twist off, which tells me basically hand tighten when we put this thing back together again. We don't need to crack anything. All right, those are off, and then this thing should lift off straight. And we'll grab this gasket that's in here. We'll take that off as well. And that's where that was. It might come off like that in one piece, I assume. I've got the tank laid down here on its side. Gonna get our adjustable tool. And this part is actually a little tricky. It's on there pretty tight. Let me get better access to that. See, we gotta take that thing off. Oh boy. Ah, the whole thing is turning. And let me get the big guns out here. This thing is kind of ticking me off. We'll spray some of this and let it sit. All right, so I let that sit for like a good 30 minutes. Just latch right on. Let me get out my tools. My right hand has a regular pair of pliers, and I'm latched onto a piece of plastic in there. And I'm rotating my right hand in the opposite direction as my left hand. Oh, this is fun. That WD-40 did do the trick. Man, I just don't want to break the plastic. But it's definitely loosening up here. There we go. Yeah, baby. That's what I want. Looks like it's in pretty good shape. Except for that, it's kind of disintegrating. So, maybe not. It's good that we're replacing this. Now we're gonna take, I've got this steel brush attachment for the drill that works really well in narrow places. We're gonna just clean this up and get all the sediment off there since we want a nice tight seal. And by the way, don't laugh. That's all I could reach with the toilet tank on there. Oh, I try so hard. All right, we're gonna bring this back over here. Just rest it there for a minute. Make sure that is secure. All right, next we're gonna take this piece, and the gasket should be kind of on there. We'll just take that off. And then we'll take off the lock nut and this cardboard insert. I'll take the old flush valve here, put it on the same plane as the new one, and the one on the right seems to be a little taller than the one on the left. Which is important because we're going to take the valve here and put that just right there. Notice we have the lock nut off and the gasket off. And they are saying we want the top of this overflow pipe, this is coming from the instructions, to be 1 inch below the bottom of the lever hole right here. So we're going to get our measuring tape out. We're going to measure 1 inch from the bottom of the hole, which is going to be right there. We'll put a mark there and then basically make sure that that is below, the top of the overflow pipe right here is below that 1 inch mark. Okay, so there's my mark right there. That is 1 inch below the line. Now I'm going to measure with the ruler right here from the bottom of the tank to right here. That's 9 inches. I'll transfer that. But it does slope a little bit, so either way, look, we're at 10 inches. So I need to trim a little bit off of the overflow pipe right here. Another way to test that, if you get something straight, oops, like a pencil, and put it on top there, flush, you can kind of see, give you an idea of where that mark is compared to the pencil. And you can also make sure that that's oriented the correct way. I mean, closer to this, right? So you can better get an idea of how far off you need to trim. So we need to trim to about right there. There's my line right there. Get the hacksaw out. Start cutting that. Come on, you bugger. There we go. That will do just fine. I do like to file this PVC down. I do like to file this PVC down a little bit. You could also take the old flush valve, and we don't want it to go to the top of that part, but you can see that's pretty even compared to what the original piece was. I'm going to take this back and put it on a safe and secure surface like we did before. All right, we're going to put this through there. And we don't want to cover any of the bolt holes, obviously. So I think right there should be good. If you move it to the back as instructed, it'll cover that bolt hole. We don't want that. You got to be able to access that. Okay, and then we're going to put the locking nut right there on like this. And make sure the flat side is up. Okay, we're going to hand tighten that. And then do a half a turn with the tool. Be careful not to over tighten. All right, it's break time. Welcome to my channel. Click that subscribe button, like this video if it's helping you out, and share this with somebody that you know. Don't forget to leave a comment down below and check the links in the description. All right, and a little trick, before you turn it, put a little mark right here on the top with a pencil, like that, and then turn it using your tool half a turn so that it's pointed straight down. I've got my little pencil mark there. That's how you know it's exactly a half a turn as per the instructions. Now it says if you have a Gerber or a Kohler, for a Gerber you need an extra thick Gerber gasket, and if you have a Kohler you can use you need to use a triangular Kohler gasket according to the instructions, which are not included unfortunately. Fortunately I do not have either of those two, so you can use the gaskets if they're in good condition. It's safe to reuse those according to the instructions, but I'm going to go ahead and replace it with the new one provided. We're going to put it up just like that, covering the lock nut on all sides, making sure it's nice and uniform. Next, we're going to get out the 2 bolts. Basically, everything here is provided. However, I've got 3 bolt holes, not 2, and they don't include a 3rd bolt for some crazy reason. So they want me to use an existing bolt. Unfortunately, check this out, I've got this weird coating on it, so I can't like take that off. So I'm in a weird situation. I can run out and get another bolt. I can use all 3 existing bolts, assuming that these are still good, or I could just use one of them. I think I'm going to use all 3 existing bolts, but for you, if you've got 2, then fantastic. You take a bolt, you put on this rubber washer, okay, and it goes through your tank. This part goes through your tank like this, and this part will be sticking out that hole, and then you put another rubber washer in, so the porcelain will be kind of between there. And then you put a metal washer on and then tighten it up like that. Okay, and that will secure it. They do give you an option to reinforce the connection using this thin nut and another metal washer basically in between the tank and the bowl. We're not going to be doing that. They warn that it can crack your porcelain. That's basically how it works. We'll get the toilet tank back on the bowl and get these bolted down. It's not super lightweight, but we've got it aligned. Those bolt holes are lined up. And we'll check to make sure that gasket doesn't get pinched as we put it down. Next, we've got the bolts. I'm using the existing ones again, so we'll drop those through the 3 existing bolt holes. Then we'll take the plastic washers or lock nuts, little combination piece here, and lefty loosey, righty tighty by hand, get those on. That one goes on. And I might need to put my left hand inside the tank to hold down so they don't pop up. But for the most part, that's pretty easy. Now as you tighten these, assuming your fingers are the same size, I've got my ring fingers here, you can kind of see how level you are. You don't want it to be like this or like this. And we're pretty level, so we're gonna continue to tighten those down. All right, next we've got the fill valve, and you can see here, if you pull up this black piece just a little bit, don't touch this locking mechanism, this little ring here, but you can see it, the height adjusts, and that's going to be important because we want this to be taller than the top of the overflow pipe that we did earlier. So we've got the shank washer. We're going to make sure that the flat side goes on first. I'm going to push it all the way on to the threaded side here. There we go. And that's going to basically sink at the bottom of the tank like that, and then this is your locking nut from the underside that we'll do next. We're gonna take this piece, and there's two little clamps on the end of this tube. If you pinch the clamp, you can slide it up and down. So we're gonna pinch it and slide it about like that. And we're gonna put this side on here. Twist it. It's kind of all that it does. We'll take this little clamp and put it right there, I suppose. And then this piece, we're going to do the same thing. Lock that on, twist it, and then put that little arm up, or the clamp on, and that should secure it. So we're going to take the next step here, position the fill valve like that. We want to make sure that the parts do not, so this is going to be kind of installed like this. We want to make sure that basically they don't conflict with each other. Specifically this part here, it needs to be turned enough so that it doesn't hit this lever, plastic lever, when we install this piece. But we'll install that in a minute. Let's get this thing adjusted. I'm gonna make that a little taller. Okay, we'll see what that looks like. That's probably too tall, because I won't be able to put the lid on. Okay, will that be 3 inches, roughly? Yeah. We're gonna clip this thing on as well. And we can trim this too if it's too long. So we'll give this a little trim right there. Clean cut for the most part. And let's take this out and readjust it. So yeah, we've got that trimmed up. The clamp is back on, and we're gonna clip the hose piece here into the top of the overflow pipe. And then we just have to secure the fill valve down. So let me take this little plastic lock nut. Put that on the underside. We're gonna hand tighten that. All right, that is pretty tight. That is secure. The clamp is on. That is well. Flapper. I can undo this and get the chain hooked up. By the way, if you want to undo that in an earlier step, that might be a good idea. So we've got the lever here. We'll take that little washer off. And we'll put that through like that. And we'll put the washer back on. This is one-handed. Aren't you impressed? Well, I couldn't do that part one-handed, so. Oh, it's a reverse thread there, so opposite way. And I'm gonna get that more or less tight. Hand tighten, we're not gonna use a tool. We don't wanna crack anything. And now we'll take this, and we want to can adjust it and take this main clip off. We want to keep a little slack in there, like a little J shape, so that when we pull it, it will lift up. So about right there. Okay, let's see what that does. That's too much slack, I think, because watch. It barely lifts that. So we're gonna take this off and readjust it. Here's a better look at the piece. Put the little chain, it has to fall through that little circle in the clip. I'm gonna try it at maybe right there. How about now? Little J shape. Yeah, I think that'll work. So we'll get about a half a push, and then it tightens the chain, and then the second half of the push of the lever will lift it up. Over and over. Okay, so with that said, we can tighten up, reverse. We can tighten this by hand. Okay. All right, I'm no plumber, but this part makes me a little nervous. It says to flush the water line before you put it back on for 30 seconds. So we'll try that. Get all the sediment out. And did you see a bunch of dark stuff come out? It did. So you need an extra bucket. Let that go full steam. I don't know if that's full steam. Let's check. It's not. That's full steam. All right. That's probably good. Dump this and then get that line connected back again. Make sure that's back on. Nice and smooth, we don't want that stripped or anything. And we are just gonna hand tighten that. All right, I think that's pretty tight. We're gonna turn on it and then check for leaks. Here we go. Filling up. We've got some sediment in there. Hopefully that's all right. So I'm checking for leaks around that gasket. And this piece right here, and the bolt holes. Oh, we've got water around the bolt hole. All right, this one right here was leaking, which is the back one. Just made sure that was fully tight. All right, let's try that again. We are dry so far. Okay, that just shut off. And it's supposed to shut off about a ½ inch underneath the overflow tube, or the overflow pipe, which it did. If we do need to adjust that, we can grab our screwdriver, and right here is gonna adjust to make that water level go a little higher or a little lower. And you can see we're well away from the hole from the lever, so that's good. And now we're gonna test it. Are you ready? Here we go. open all the way here. Checking for leaks. Still dry. We are dry, baby. All right, so that just stopped again successfully, so it does flush. The lever is adjusted to the appropriate level. The water level looks good as well. The float itself, the adjustment is good. We don't need to do anything there. So a couple of things. If you look at the actual flap, turn on the flash there for you. See those numbers? It's preset to 9. And if you want to save water, we can actually turn this to, I just rotated it this way to a lesser number, and that basically allows the flapper to not stay open as long. It's a weaker flush, but a way to save water. So here it is on its, what setting is that? It's like a 2 or something. And look how quickly it closes. Do you see that? The water level didn't go all the way down. So it's a weaker flush, but the idea is that you put 3 pieces of toilet paper in the actual tank or in the bowl and try to flush it. When the toilet paper does not flush, you adjust it 1 click higher than that, and that's the most efficient setting for your toilet. In other words, it'll save water but still flush what you need to flush, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna set mine to like, I'm gonna rotate it back this way. I'm gonna set mine to about 5 or so, which is a really cool feature. Now let's talk about this blue thing. You may have noticed this. This is a roller clamp, and the idea is that you test the water level in your toilet. If it's too low or too high, you can adjust this thing and roll it to a lower number or a higher number, and that'll adjust the water level in your actual toilet. So your default ideal toilet level, the water level, is to take a gallon of water and just dump it in here, and then put a little mark, sorry that you're getting up close and personal, put a little mark right there to see at the water level, and then flush your toilet, and it should go up to that same level. If it is too low, you can adjust this. If it's too high, you can adjust this. Okay, so let's take a look at this thing here, and you roll it. You gotta be careful, I don't want to hit anything. Okay, and that basically gives more flow. Okay, let's try that. Can you see the water level? It's getting a little higher than it was before because I just moved the clamp this way. Okay, so if that's a little too high, then we can roll it back this way. Like maybe like that. That'll put that water level a little lower. All right, then we're gonna put this back on. We'll get this cleaned up so my wife doesn't freak out. But we are tested, operational. We've got a functioning, pretty much brand new toilet. I am gonna check for leaks for the next couple of weeks to make sure that is, while it's, you know, in use, that is dry as it should be. And we're gonna consider this a fixed toilet, and hopefully this video has helped you out. Stay sneaky.